Welcome to OfficiallySpeaking.com. I'm Bill Lamagna. We're here for our third edition of our 2012 webinars. Today we want to talk to you about crew leadership, crew dynamics. As a referee, one of the things you need to think about doing is empowering your crew. What are the things you can do to bring out their leadership skills? Because there's going to be opportunities throughout the season for every individual on that crew to step up and be a leader. Again, leaders can be appointed, but real leaders emerge. They demonstrate their leadership. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to talk to a referee crew chief from the Michigan area. His name's Tom Rao. And Tom had a different approach towards empowering members of his crew that I thought was interesting. He told me that when he went out on the football field, and of course high school football game, you do your meeting with the coaches out on the field, that the whole crew, after they did their walkthrough and it was time to go see the home coach first, that as he went over to the home coach, and Tom, as the referee, would introduce himself to the coach, that he then turned the conference over to his line judge. And he introduced his line judge, who he said would be working the sideline today, and he used that to start right there before the game started, to establish a communication link between that wing official, who was going to be responsible for that sideline for the next 2.5 hours, and that head coach. And at that point there, the line judge had the game card with the officials' names on it, and he handed it to the coach, and he introduced the rest of the crew. And then, of course, the interaction went on about the captains. The interaction went on about the unusual plays that you might have. And when they finished that conference, it was really, even though it was started by the referee, it was really run by the line judge. And then the crew left there and they went over to see the visiting coach. And again, the referee started the conference with the visiting coach, and he turned it over to his head linesman. Now his head linesman had the crew card, introduced the crew, and they went through the same scenarios again with the captains, unusual plays, etc. The whole purpose of this was, these are the two officials that are going to have great communication going on during the course of a football game. Why not start it before the game even starts? Why not do it in an atmosphere that's a non-hostile atmosphere, where people can, without a coach being under pressure, it's before the ball game, start that communication between that wing official and that coach right now. All successful leaders need to exhibit several characteristics and traits. So let's take a run through a few of these that all good leaders, successful leaders, will have. First of all, you have to have a commitment. There's no question success comes from a commitment to what you're doing. One of the things that I've taken as a nice compliment over the years is the fact that people say they recognize the passion that I have for the game. And I think that has to come out, because if you have a passion for the game, you're always trying to excel, you're always trying to push forward, push yourself, push other people. The other thing you have to be able to do is you need to be a good listener, listening to learn. There's a lot of things that you can pick up, and you're looking for that one nugget. You could be somewhere for an hour, for 2 hours. Pick up that one nugget that you can apply and make yourself or make your crew a better officiating crew. Along with that passion probably is a thing called charisma. Separate charisma from being a hot dog, but I think individuals who have a little bit of charisma to them, have a little flavor with their style, I think those are the things that earmark them and separate them from other officials. Of course, strong character is another thing that we all need to exhibit. You can go out and tell other people how to do things, but people will judge you on how you do things. That character that you have, not only on the field, but off the field, will also take and have a huge, huge influence, whether you're the referee or another official, at how people buy into the things that you ask them to do. Cohesiveness is obviously a key. That crew's got to work together, and everybody on that crew has responsibilities to try and work on that crew cohesiveness. So don't underestimate the value of everybody working together. 5 people off in different directions is not going to lead to crew success. Find ways to bring that crew together. Obviously, communication is super key to crew success and to leadership. we used to take, and the only way we could communicate was either in person or by telephone. Today we're communicating via emails, by websites, all kinds of electronic ways, our iPhones, etc. But still, the bottom line is, when you get an opportunity to communicate, there's no better communication than in-person communication, and then secondly, that personal communication with a voice via telephone. Times are such that you can't communicate except by an email or except by other electronic forms. But whenever you can, strong communication, let everybody know what's going on and keep everybody in the loop and on the same page. Leadership is demonstrated by your competency. Every official on that field needs to go out and be competent in their position, but particularly the leader. You've got to be able to go out there and demonstrate and hold yourself accountable to the same levels and higher level that you want from your crew. So demonstrating competency all the time is a critical thing in a leadership performance, because everybody's looking at you all the time to see how you handle situations. Obviously, another thing about leadership is the courage that you have. A lot of times it'll obviously come from situations on the field when you have to deal with players or coaches, but there's also times within your crew that having courage has to be demonstrated on how you handle difficult situations between yourself and another crew member or between two other crew members. Are you a problem solver? Do you ignore things? Are you an enabler? Or do you problem solve? Do you find ways to get through situations with your crew? And then are you self-disciplined? Can you hold yourself to task? You know, you have an expectation for everybody else, but can you be self-disciplined and keep yourself on task and keep the crew moving in the right direction? And then the last thing I'd say is an excellent characteristic of leadership is the confidence that you portray. When you walk out on the field or you're in that pregame meeting, you're not a dictator, but you want to show a confidence, an aura that you're in charge, that you've got solutions to the situations at hand, and that you can move the crew forward. That's what a true leader does. How do we get from point A to point B, and are they willing to go with you? I won't say follow you, but are they willing to go with you and walk side by side with you when you hit some of those tough situations? Let's take a look at some areas to consider in terms of leadership, whether you're the referee again or one of the other crew members. Are you an enabler or a developer? My wife always said that with our kids, especially with our girls, I was an enabler. But with our son, I was a developer. And she was kind of hoping I'd be more of a developer with all the kids. But take a look at that from the standpoint of your crew. Do you enable your people? Do you just kind of see things happen or let things slide by? Or do you try and seize those moments and make them teachable moments and be a developer within your crew? As often as we can, we want to be a developer. Okay? Then there's times that situations come up and the crew might be aware of the situation. Might have something to do on the field, it might have something to do off the field. But how do you as the leader on that crew handle that with that individual official? Do you do it privately or do you do it within the crew, in front of the whole crew? There's times that you just need to have that private conversation, and it goes back to communication. You have to have that private conversation with that crew member to discuss how maybe something off the field is impacting their performance or something on the field is impacting their performance. And then there's times that that has to be done in front of the whole crew. But by having that pre-conversation with that individual, then they're not surprised, they're not submarined in front of the crew when that topic comes up. Many times when you do that, that individual then is willing to take the initiative to actually present that to the crew themselves. And that's the way that those processes and the growth comes from, is if you give that ownership, even for problems, back to the individual, get solutions from them, let them present it to the crew. Then it isn't you in front of the crew embarrassing or possibly submarining one of your other crew members and they weren't aware of it. But that's just being honest and open. But be ready. If you're going to be a leader, you have to have the ability to privately or within the crew have conversations about things that need to change. Of course, we've all heard this in all walks of life. We set the bar, and then once we reach a certain level, we're going to set the bar higher.
We're never going to be content that we've reached a level and we're satisfied. Because once you do that, then you're back onto that slide again, and problems will occur. You need to set the bar, reach the bar, set the bar higher. So never be satisfied with your performance. Always be looking for some area that you can improve on. The other thing is that I try to do this all the time. Very often our crew gets referred to as the Bill LeMonnier crew. I'm aware of that. I know that happens. That's how coaches look at it. The conference looks at it. But whenever possible, I try and take Bill LeMonnier, my crew, out of it. It's our crew. Now, I'll give you an example. This year a new official was assigned to our crew, just came into the conference, and he called me and he was just all excited that he was on Bill's crew. And I stopped him right there, and I said, let's just set a ground rule. You're not on my crew. You're not on Bill's crew. You're on our crew. So anytime I get the opportunity when we're speaking about the crew, I try to use the term our crew. It's not my crew. It's a little thing, but the guys pick up on it, and sometimes there can be some resentment if it's the leader or the referee who's always getting the attention, but they've done most of the work. They've made the nuts and bolts calls, but the referee is getting credit for it by his name or his crew. So just a little thing, but do your best at referring to it as our crew. The next thing is you want to share as much responsibility as you can. You know I made the mistake early in my years as a crew chief that I probably was a control freak on things. But once I started to release some of that, and a couple of the guys volunteered to help, and I turned some of those responsibilities over to the crew, again, that started to build some better teamwork, better teamship between the guys on the crew. So, and it also took some work off my plate. Now, I'll still go back to the thing that said I still needed to know about all those arrangements, but I didn't have care of them and the responsibility for them. It just needed to filter back to me so that I knew things about the tickets, about the travel, about the hotels, about who was going to do what topics in a pregame. That was being dispersed out and taken care of by different members of the crew. It gave them that ownership, and it made them a better part of the team. So again, share responsibilities. Don't put the whole burden on yourself to do everything for that crew, but still know what all the things are that are coming together. You want to encourage everybody being a crew leader. Again, I pointed out earlier that as the referee, you're the appointed leader. But there's a huge difference between being an appointed leader and somebody who's earned the respect as a leader. There's going to be opportunities throughout the entire season for each individual on your crew to earn leadership opportunities. Let them seize those opportunities. Maybe it's somebody who steps up and saves somebody on a call. Maybe it's somebody stepping up and it has to do with the penalty enforcement, and it wasn't even their call. But all through the season, you want people who are going to step up and take that leadership role. So encourage that and then reward that when that happens. We started a thing with our crew a few years ago, and we called it the Rock. And it was just a simple little rock with a football on it that we picked up at a local store. And for $5, we made that kind of like the sticker on our helmet for a football player. It was kind of our affirmation award. And after the first game of the season, based on somebody stepping up and taking some leadership role that day, I, as the referee, presented the rock to one of the guys on the crew. And then they got to take that rock home, put it at their desk at work or have it at home, and they got to kind of brag about it for the week on how they stepped up and did something for the crew. Then that second week, when that game was done, that individual crew member, they had the opportunity to present the rock to another member of the crew. Now, we set a few ground rules. There was nothing that said that everybody on the crew would earn the rock during the course of a season. There was also a ground rule that said that, hey, if there wasn't anybody who stepped up and there wasn't any opportunity for that special leadership, then the rock would not be passed on just to pass it on. So it had to be earned. Somebody had to demonstrate something on or off the field that went that extra step to show leadership, to take responsibility, to have a little courage, and do something for the crew. So that rock got kind of passed around through the season. It kind of, like I said, it became our sticker on our helmet, that affirmation that, hey, we did something special. And then at the end of the season, I took the rock back and I would present it to one member of the crew and then that was theirs to keep. And then for the following season, we went out and we got a new one for the new season. So it was a little thing, but we're kind of all first graders. We all like to have that smiley face or sticker on our paper, hang it up on the refrigerator so mom and dad can see it. The players like to get stickers and you know, have their helmet adorned with those. Our crew likes to have the rock. So that means a lot to our guys to get that corny little thing on Friday night when the pregame finished, that the other guys on the crew or somebody else on the crew recognize their ability, that they stepped up. And that's what we want to do. I want to go out on a football field and work with 5, 6 other officials who are individual leaders, who can put it on the line and have courage. I don't like to go out there with guys, even as competent as they can be with their calls, who are going to sit back and not interject, and then we have an individual or a crew error that could have been corrected on the field. It doesn't do me any good to hear about it in the locker room. I want to know about it on the field while we have a chance.